Alright folks, this is the grand finale of recording 741. Yes, this is part 3, so if you've not listened to those other parts, go back and listen to those, and then come back here and let's finish this thing up. You know the whole deal. Facebook, like us. Tumblr, read us. Bandcamp, buy us. Patreon, support us. SoundCloud, listen here too. And don't forget to subscribe. And ring that little bell thingy so that you'll know every time we post a new video here on YouTube. And don't forget to check out the hashtags Audio Drama Sunday and Audio Drama April. Alright, let's jump right into The Factory.
Club 40 Audio presents The Factory.
You know, I don't often find myself at a loss for words. When I was in school, they used to say I had an answer for everything. Called me smart. I thought that's what you went to school to become. It's a fine commentary on the American educational system. Throw a kid out of class for being smart. But that morning, when I woke up on Jack's bed, which smelled like something dead had been lying in it just before I took up residence, with my eyes burning, I really didn't know what to say or think. Mostly because I couldn't think. It all seemed like a bad dream. Then I remembered the girl, the taxi cab. It all came flooding back. She had tossed me around that room like a rag doll. And no girl could be that strong. At least not a dame like that. Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against strong women, mentally or physically. I saw a strong man act at a sideshow once. 2 men and 1 woman. And I'll tell you, that lady was pretty powerful. Lifted 100 pounds with 1 arm. But she was also built like the Empire State Building, with arms almost as thick as my legs. Like I said, I got nothing against that. But this dame, the one who had thrown me against the wall, couldn't have weighed 120 pounds soaking wet. Her arm, which I had clawed at, as she held all 225 of me up in midair by the neck, was small enough for my whole hand to encompass it. Had she looked like that circus lady, I might have been able to believe her throwing me across the room, hard enough to break the bureau, which now lay in splinters. If she'd used both hands, but not this dame. No. All the same, it had happened. Then there was her teeth. White, glistening things that looked like polished ivory. I had noticed those in the car. But there was something I hadn't noticed before. I hadn't noticed them because they hadn't been there. Fangs. She had 2 long, sharp teeth where her canines ought to have been. They looked like the teeth of a rattlesnake. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, and we all know what we're thinking, so we might as well say it. Vampire. The girl was a vampire. I might have thought she was one of those freaks who saw Bela Lugosi's movie and read Carmelo one too many times and decided to take on the lifestyle. Hey, you get all kinds in L.A. But with her strength, her impossible strength, it seemed there was little other possible explanation. And don't think I didn't try to come up with one. If the movies were right, and they so seldom are, she was probably hiding underground somewhere right now. In a city of more than 10,000 buildings, attempting any sort of search with no clues and nothing to go on was pointless. So I decided I would follow her example and go back to my office. I would try to get some shut-eye. I was going to have a long night ahead of me, and I needed a shower just from being in the presence of Jack's bed, let alone laying in it. As I stood there under the water, I thought about the events of the last night over and over. I wondered if, and that was a big if she was a vampire just on the hunt for her next meal, why didn't she drain me dry right then and there? I was at her mercy. It didn't make any sense. Then I thought about her insistence that Jack tell her where the boss was. Clearly this girl was a vamp on a mission. She wasn't just hunting down any random schmuck. And her selection of Jack as that night's entree had not been random. Why would it be? Who knew what kind of parasites might be crawling around in that guy's blood? Yet she'd bid him all the same. had promised to kill him, too. Yet she'd not killed me. From the pain I was in, I almost wish she had. I'll shave tomorrow.
You know, you really should lock your office door before walking around in nothing but a towel. A lady could just walk in off the street.
How did you get in here? How are you?
Out in the daylight. Come now, Mr. Cooper, you really shouldn't believe what you see in the movies. You've been neglecting your reading. Even Dracula could walk around in broad daylight. At least in the book. He just wasn't nearly as powerful in the daytime.
So you really do claim to be a...
A vampire. Well, that's a relative term now, isn't it? Do I drink human blood as my primary source of sustenance? Yes. Do I dwell underground and walk about in a cape trying to mesmerize handsome young men? Not usually. A stake through the heart would kill me, just like it would anyone else. A bullet could kill me if it went through my brain, silver or not. But as you see, I have no fear of daylight. Oh, and I love garlic on my pepperoni pizza. That just about covers the basics. And speaking of which, would you mind putting some pants on? I may have seen it all, but I'm still a lady.
Yeah, sure. Excuse me, I'll just go back here. You know, you really banged me up last night. I haven't taken a beating like that since my boxing days in college.
And I really do apologize for that, Mr. Cooper. I can be a little overreactionary when I'm about to feed. It's kind of like a shark. But I'm getting better at it. After all, I didn't kill you last night.
I was just trying to help. Thought that big dope was trying to harm you.
I know you were. Any other time, you would have been doing the right thing. Since the first time I saw you at the movies, and you protected those kids, I knew you had a good heart. Maybe a little rough around the edges, but a good heart.
Kids? In the alley? That was you!
Oh yes, Mr. Cooper. You've cost me many a night's hard work with your meddling. I had, what did you call him? Little Caesar? I had him all lined up when you followed him and those kids. I might have let you handle him, but I hadn't eaten in days, and after a while, need will override good sense, even when you've lived as long as I have.
And just how long is that, if I may ask?
Don't you know a lady should never tell her age? Well, come this July, I'll be over 240 years old.
I wouldn't have pegged you for more than 170.
Flatterer.
So, what's your game? How do you pick your victims?
They are hardly victims, Mr. Cooper. What I do is justice. I only go after the ones with evil in them.
Every man has evil in him. Every woman, too, for that matter.
Not like the ones I take, Mr. Cooper. I know these men. I know them to the bottom of their empty souls.
How? Can you read their minds, or something like that?
Not quite, but it's just as good. There's an energy that everyone emits, Mr. Cooper. Some people call it an aura. Well, I can see it. And from it I can tell certain things about people. I can see, for instance, that you had a rough childhood, that you hate your father, but regret not telling him you still loved him before he died. I can see that you've romanced a number of women in your day, but never really found true love. And I can tell
All right, that's enough. I get the picture. Skip it. Enough about me.
Well, men like Little Caesar and Jack and Randall Leach, they have a... well, I'll call it a darkness, but it's really more of a nothing to their auras. They've killed. Not for love or hate or in war, but because of the pure pleasure it gave them. It's like something is missing from their souls, and the deeper that nothing, that missing is, that's the more they've done it, and the more they've enjoyed it.
Randall Leach. So then you...
Oh yes, Randall and I met. He was one of the darkest I've ever seen. One of the most empty. I did the world a favor that night.
We believe he killed at least 10 women before he disappeared.
I would have guessed closer to 15.
What about Jack last night?
He is responsible for the suffering and death of men, women, and children more than you can possibly imagine, Mr. Cooper. He may not have done it himself, but he has a hand in it. And he knows what's being done with the girls that disappear into that program.
Yeah, about that. What has this Mr. Sheridan got to do with you, Miss, Say, what is your name anyway?
Oh, dear, how rude of me. Pippians. Raina Pippians. How do you do, Mr. Cooper?
As in the North American leopard frog.
Oh, very good, Mr. Cooper. Exactly right. I always thought it sounded exotic, like a film star.
So what is your real name?
I don't see how that really matters, Mr. Cooper, especially when I've had so many names. I'm not even sure which is the real one anymore. Raina will do.
All right, Raina. So what's Mr. Sheridan's game and what's your part in it?
Mr. Sheridan is involved in procurement of necessary goods and services for individuals of my ilk. At least that's how one of his salesmen pitched it to me. To make it simple, he puts the sale in wholesale slaughter. He hires men like Jack to keep an eye out for fresh folks just off the bus. They promise sweet young things, like myself, that they will get them into the pictures if they just spend a little time as an intern, or something along those lines. They go into the program, and they never come back out. Are you getting the picture?
So, let me get this straight. This Sheridan, he's supplying vamps with fresh supplies of blood, taking the risk out of what you do to survive, for a price. He's using these young girls as, what, cattle?
It's not just girls, Mr. Cooper. It's men and children, too, old and young. They take the homeless when they can get them, but they're not preferred stock because of the diseases and chemicals many of them have running in their systems. But yes, the majority are poor young girls. They take them somewhere, keep them alive for a few days or weeks until they've drained them dry, and then they dispose of the bodies.
But how could they do that? How can they grab so many people and nobody ever notice?
How many girls did Randall Leach kill before you noticed? Mr. Cooper, before Hollywood, I can think of only 2 other times and places where so many people came every day and would never be missed by anyone. The first was Ellis Island, the second the Columbian Exposition in 1893. Millions of people came and hundreds disappeared, never to be heard from again. Even fewer were actually missed.
At least half of those they think were H.H. Holmes now. Was he one of your vamps? Or one of Jack's type?
Quite possibly. I never crossed paths with him. Believe me, he wouldn't have gotten half so many if I had. But you can be sure, as many as Holmes kidnapped and killed, Sheridan or someone like Sheridan got more. There is a network of such activity around the world, and like drug dealers, they have territory, a turf. We happen to be sitting in the middle of Mr. Sheridan's.
And you've taken this on as some sort of personal quest to hunt this guy down and put a stop to it.
Cooper, there is no putting a stop to it. But like the boy throwing starfish back into the sea one at a time, I'm only trying to make a difference to the ones I can help. I don't worry about the ones I can't. That includes putting a stop to those who have nothing to do with Sheridan's racket. And if my needs happen to be taken care of in the process, that's one less thing to worry about now, isn't it? A girl's got to eat after all. It's really not that different from what you do.
The name's Frank, Dollface. Call me Frank.
Frank.
There's just one thing I don't get. If a vamp's gotta eat, what makes you so different? Why don't you take advantage of Mr. Sheridan's offer and lay low? Yeah, a few kids might get bumped off that didn't deserve it, but that's no skin off of your nose.
There are those of my kind that think we might be the next step in evolution, Frank. We're not the Walking Dead, though that is usually when most of us have become what we now are, when we're on the verge of dying. You might think of what we have as a sort of good infection. It sustains us, heals us almost as quickly as we are injured, increases bone density, makes us stronger and live longer than you could ever imagine. But it comes at a terrible price. Some believe we will one day overwhelm the human race as the dominant species. Well, that would be a terrible thing, Mr. Cooper. I believe in the human race. More importantly, I believe in the power and importance of the individual. Every life matters, Mr. Cooper, even the ones I take. It's bad enough when people like Jack get what's coming to them. But when innocents are harmed, we all have a moral duty to put a stop to it, whatever the cost.
So what is it you want from me? What is it you think I can do?
For starters, you need to help me track down Jack.
Jack? So you didn't catch him last night?
No, more's the pity. And by 6 p.m. tonight, when the sun goes down, he will be fully one of us, and hungry for blood. Right now, while the sun is still up, we have a chance to hunt him down. After 6, he will be much harder to kill. Worse still, he's probably on his way to Mr. Sheridan right at this moment. Sheridan's smart. He'll put the pieces together, and he'll know that I'm on to him. I've been trying to stop one of these syndicates for nearly 50 years now, and every time I get close, they catch the scent and go even deeper underground. I can't let this one get away.
You said last night that you had just put the last one down. Was that little boy? Did you try shaking him down like you did Jack?
No, he was just one of the bad guys that got away. He was surprisingly fast and strong for one of the unturned. I was going to take him out just like I did Randall and Little Caesar, but before I could finish the job, he had put me through a wall, literally, and ran away. But I got him in the end.
By disemboweling him and ripping his heart out?
I told you, once a person becomes like me, they're a lot harder to kill. You have to act fast. Unfortunately, he was too big to carry without attracting attention, and I'd only just finished up on him moments before a policeman came around the corner. There wasn't any time to dispose of him properly.
So, little boy was the Night Ripper?
That was him. He was bad enough already, but when I inadvertently made him like me, I became responsible for every life he took after that.
So what do we do to find Jack, Miss Reyna?
That's why I need you. We need to go back to Jack's room, find out what we can, see if there's anything that can lead us to Sheridan.
So we went back to Jack's little rat hole. I couldn't figure it. What did Miss Reyna, a 240-year-old vampire, want with me? If she'd lived half as long as she claimed, managing to avoid detection all this time, she had to be at least smart enough to draw out every little scrap of information a place like Jack's could offer up to me. A second-rate dick who didn't have so much as a kiddie's chemistry set to his name, let alone a crime lab. All the same, we went through the apartment, the whole apartment, reading every scrap of paper, checking every receipt, trying to find the most likely places Jack might go. The majority of his papers were innocuous enough, but what stood out to me was the large number of handwritten slips from a diner. Reyna, take a look at this.
Restaurant receipts. That's nothing new. There are dozens of them around here. I don't believe the man knew how to cook. That kitchen doesn't look like it's been used since he moved in. And there's nothing but a bunch of old takeaway containers in the icebox. And I don't even want to think about what's growing in half of them.
Yeah, about 24 of these receipts. But do you notice anything about them?
Waitress for about half of them was the same person. Her handwriting is sloppy. Only a few of them are in the same order. Reuben sandwich, French fries, and soup. The rest are all different. What am I missing?
The dates. They're all from the same restaurants. Holloway, Sterling, Starlight Diner. Says so at the top of every slip. But the dates are all on Wednesdays. Look at the last month here alone. The 6th, the 13th, the 20th. Today's Wednesday, the 27th. He's due to visit the diner. And if these times are right, he's due there about 5 o'clock.
That's 2 hours from now. We may already be too late. It goes faster with some. But I don't see how this helps us. He wouldn't be after a Reuben sandwich, not with what he must be going through.
No, but it's a pattern. Didn't he say he was going to take you to see the boss today?
Yes, and if he hadn't started getting fresh, we could have avoided this whole thing. But the minute that door was closed, he attacked me, started slapping. I don't put up with that from anyone.
If he's going to see Sheridan, they must have established a time and place somewhere out of the way. Maybe it's this diner, but I don't think so. It's probably somewhere nearby.
I don't suppose this moron had any sort of road atlas or map of Los Angeles lying about, did he?
I'd be surprised if a guy like Jack could even spell Los Angeles. I say we go to this restaurant and see what we can see. We've got this one chance to catch him, and if he gets to Sheridan, we could lose him forever.
It's worse than that.
Worse? Why do I get a feeling I'm not going to like this?
This is the third time I've gotten close to Sheridan's operation. Last time I actually saw him. Worse still, he saw me. He knows what I look like, more or less. I was a blonde then. If he realizes I'm onto him again, he probably won't simply change his meeting places, he'll come after me. Me and all those who help me.
So now I'm wrapped up in this.
Odds are you were from the moment you broke into this room last night. Jack probably thought you were some sort of bodyguard, standing by in case things went south.
Despite the fact that you tossed me around the room like a puppy dog with a newspaper?
I already apologized for that. But yes, Jack's not smart enough to remember that. Odds are he only remembers his own name because people shouted at him once in a while.
So how do we get halfway across town in 2 hours, in the middle of rush hour?
Well, I could turn into a giant bat, grab you by the lapels, and fly us across the rooftops. But I think you would be a little too heavy for me in that form.
You don't mean that you can really...
No. And I'm not going to let you climb on my back like a monkey either while we jump from rooftop to rooftop.
Just when I thought I was going to get a free ride out of you. Kidding!
We are going to take a yellow coach, and just for that, Frank, you are paying for it.
I have a feeling I'm going to end up paying for a lot more than a trolley ride before this night is over. Oh, goody. Beautiful downtown Burbank. Yeah, this is just about the kind of place a guy like Sheridan and his cronies would hang out.
If you think this is bad, you should have seen France during the Revolution.
Which one?
Diner's right over there. Come on.
No.
No?
We don't want to go into the diner. If Jack's around, he might spot us in there and not go in. I don't know how good of a look he got at me, but he definitely recognized you. Even in that green dress instead of the red one. You should have gone in for that little Bobby Soxer number you had on at the El Capitan before. It made you look far less conspicuous.
Maybe I should turn into a woof or mist and run back to my lair and change. You could stay here and watch.
No time for movie cliches now, sweetheart. Look who just crawled around the corner.
Jack.
Yeah. And from the looks of things, he's not feeling too hot.
The pain of the transition's always worse just before it's completed. Honestly, at this point, I'm surprised he can walk.
Stay back here in the shadows or I'll see you. We can't go for him yet. We need him to lead us to Sheridan. Look, he's passing the diner. You don't think he's met up with him already, do you?
No, not a chance. If he'd already seen Sheridan, he wouldn't be here. Sheridan wouldn't want a changer running around L.A. unattended. Usually when a vampire sires a new one, they're expected to stick with them, help them through the transition, lead them to their first kill, or in Sheridan's case, I imagine he would feed him from his stockpiles.
If Sheridan does that, he'd have to take him to where his supplies are. We could find their headquarters, if he'll play our cards right.
That would be extraordinarily bad. If Jack completes the change and feeds, he will be a force to be reckoned with, but I can probably handle him. Sheridan, on the other hand, is smart. He's been feeding for a long time and lived longer. He will be smart, too smart. If he's got a couple of thugs with him, we could be... Cooper, where are you going?
He's going down that street toward that row of warehouses. We need to get closer or else we'll never know which one. Come on. We followed Jack as he limped down the back avenues. There were nearly 14 warehouses lined up one after another, 2 or 3 deep. As the sun set on the horizon, Jack's footsteps became less and less sure. Finally, he turned down one dark alley and then the next, coming to Warehouse 47. By the time he opened the side door of the warehouse, he was practically crawling down the street. He seemed to be in so much pain, I doubt he would have noticed if Betty Davis had walked right past him. As we approached the door, I could hear him from within. How do we get in?
Did you think to try the door?
If we go in through the door, the streetlight will betray us. If Sheridan's in there, he'll know something's going on, and the gig will be up.
What do you suggest?
The roof. You dragged Caesar up twice as high, and he was kicking and screaming.
Still trying to get that free ride out of me, huh? Oh, I guess you're right. Hold on.
To what? Warn a guy next time.
I did. There's a hatch over here, come on. It should open up to a catwalk.
You have X-ray vision now?
No, but I am familiar with this design of warehouse. The rafters are a great place to hide while sleeping upside down.
You mean like a...
Like a possum, Frank. Like a possum. Shh.
Isn't Sheridan going to hear us? If he's in there, he may have already heard that hinge squeak.
With what? His dramatically improved vampire senses? Another invention of the novelist and filmland, Mr. Cooper.
Would you kindly shut up, Mr. Kibulski? You'll have the local patrolman coming down on us in no time if you continue to carry on so.
Boss! There you are! There you are! I'm hurt bad, boss. I'm hurt bad!
So it would seem. What's happened, Mr. Kibulski? Have a little run-in with the coppers? Or did you finally try to bring in a woman you couldn't tame?
It wasn't just a woman, boss. She's not like I've ever seen. She was fast, strong. She bit me.
She did what?
She bit me right in the neck. I thought I was gonna bleed out. But it seems like I healed up real fast. Oh, it hurts, boss. It hurts deep down inside. Like something's wrong. I think she gave me something.
I dare say she has, Mr. Kibulski. She started the process that will make you like me. It looks as though you are quite far along. Another few minutes and you'll be just like us. A far less well-groomed and smelly one of us.
What do you mean, boss?
You'll find out soon enough. Or rather, you won't. If you don't tell me everything about this woman who bit you right this moment.
She was just a dame. Good looking. She's asking about you, boss. Wanted to know where to find you.
What was the name? The name, you bloody fool.
Pippins. Raina Pippins. Pippins.
You undereducated fool. That's a frog. It's a false name. You've led her right to me.
You gotta help me.
Silence. You've led her here, you simpering little fool.
Raina! Where are you, Raina? I know you are there. Mr. Kibulski led you right to me. Didn't he, Raina? Was he going to be your midnight snack? Or was it part of your plan for him to lead you here? Come out, Raina, or whatever your real name is. Ollie Oxenfree.
I thought you said he wouldn't know we were here.
He doesn't. He's just guessing. But this could be the opportunity we've been waiting for. He doesn't know you're here. I'll distract him while you get the jump on him.
How am I going to get a jump on a vampire?
You brought your gun, didn't you?
Of course, but...
A gun will work just as well on him as it would on you. You simply have to put the bullet in the right place at the right time. At worst, it will put him off and I can finish him then. Aim for his head. The heart is too easy to miss.
Raina! Raina!
Mr. Sheridan, here I am.
So what is it you want, eh? You've been poking your nose into my business for the last 5 years, looking for me, trying to get to the heart of my operations. Do you have a business proposal, or do you want to get some product wholesale? Come on now, Raina, you've tracked me down. What do you have to say?
My name isn't Raina any more than yours is Sheridan. And you know exactly why I'm here.
Haven't the foggiest, love. But would you mind coming down here to discuss it? I never was much for long-distance conversations, and my hearing isn't what it was 300 years ago.
All the grace of a cat and the beauty to match.
Don't play games with me, Sheridan. I know what happens to all the people you have your dogs like Jack here hunting down.
Oh, yes. Poor Jack. You know, you really should have finished him off right away instead of waiting until he led you to me. It's not proper manners to play with one's food.
That's all it is to you, isn't it?
While Raina distracted Sheridan, I needed to find a way down from the catwalk. Not being possessed of the cat-like graces that allowed Raina to jump a distance of 40 feet and still land on her toes, and heels no less, I opted for a more traditional route, namely a ladder which was bolted to the wall. Jack lay on the ground at Sheridan's feet, whimpering like a whipped dog. When I at last felt solid concrete under my feet again, I made my way around the boxes and crates stacked in the warehouse. I came across one that was open and looked inside. In the box was exactly what you might expect to see in a warehouse owned by Mr. Sheridan. Glass bottles of a red fluid so dark as to be almost black. I was surrounded by the victims of Mr. Sheridan, or at least what remained of them. I angled my way around until I was less than 20 feet away from where Raina and Sheridan stood.
Light and humans run for their lives at the mere mention of our name. Then perhaps it'll be about something else. But until then, it is and always has been about the money. I could let you become a part of my little organization, Raina. I can just tell by looking at you, you are not a recent convert. You must be, let me guess, 190, 250 years old. You certainly aren't more than 300. But you must have lived a long time to have evaded me and taken out so many of my agents for this long. That means you are smart. And a smart girl knows when she's been made a good offer.
What do I get for joining you? A warm coffin in the daytime? All the young virgins I can drink?
Let's not be silly. We both know all those chestnuts are just fancies made by the humans to make us less than we are. For instance, I know right now your human friend is behind that crate over there. He was just putting his hand on his gun and I could hear the whisper of his fingers on the oiled metal. Come out, sir. If you're going to shoot me, I'd prefer you weren't sneaky about it.
I thought you said that he didn't have super senses.
Clearly, some of us have abilities, the others don't.
Nothing so prosaic as that. I've always been possessed of excellent hearing. And it was hard to miss you coming down that ladder, sir. It rings through the whole building, no matter how stealthy you are.
So what now, Mr. Sheridan?
Well, that raises an interesting question, Mr.
Cooper. Frank Cooper. Private Eye.
Oh, that sounds like a radio show, doesn't it? Well, Mr. Cooper, it's quite obvious Miss Leopard Frog here was about to decline my gracious offer. And while I'm sure she had an excellent retort at the ready, I'd rather not let you shoot me and have her finish me off. Jack! Dinner!
Oh, crap.
Oh, what to do? Jack is rather weak at the moment, having never fed yet, which is the only reason he hasn't already killed Mr. Cooper. But if you save him, then I will get away. What will you do, Miss Leopard Frog? Save one of the humans you love so dearly, or put an end to the demon who feasts on the blood of the innocent?
Raina, I can't hold him off much longer. I would really appreciate some help over here.
Do you really think one human is worth that much to me? You see, Mr. Sheridan, I never wanted to put an end to your empire, only to take it over.
What?
That's right, Mr. Cooper. I couldn't care less about you. I want the empire. Even more so, I want the blood. So you see, Mr. Sheridan, it's not a quandary for me at all.
Dames! Why do I ever trust a dame? You want blood, Jack? Here! Have all you want!
Oh, very good, Mr. Cooper.
Boss! Boss! What am I doing? What? Why? What am I doing? You gotta help me, boss!
I'm gonna help you, Jack. I'm gonna put you out of your misery once and for all.
Boss! Help me! Help me, please! What are you...
Silence, Mr. Kabolski. Silence. As though I would ever let you join the next race. Well, Raina, it would seem it is down to you, and it is down to me. But of course, it only seems that way.
Frank!
Never lie to someone who's lived nearly 400 years, Miss Raina. They can always tell.
It's all a little hazy after that. I'm not altogether sure what I saw or what actually happened. It's hard to keep track of events when you've been shot twice in the gut, and at least once in the chest. But near as I can tell, Raina did to Sheridan what she must have done to Little Boy a week before. The next thing I knew, she was by my side. Her pretty green dress wasn't so green anymore.
Frank? I'm so sorry, Frank.
Think nothing of it, Dollface. It's nothing a surgeon, half a bottle of bourbon can't fix. I'm just glad we got him. You did get him, right?
Yeah, Frank, we got him. Got him good.
Oh, good. That's good. That's very good. At least, that means something.
Come on, I'll get you to a doctor.
Oh, goody. I'm gonna get that free ride after all. Well, that was 3 hours ago, and we never quite made it to the doctor. Or at least that's what Raina says. Seems I blacked out not long after that, and she had to take more drastic action. Turns out, if a vamp bites you, it takes almost 24 hours for you to turn. But if you bite a vamp, it works a lot quicker. Almost like Mr. Stoker said. What's more, that healing factor seems to kick in within a matter of minutes. I don't suppose I'll be able to carry on as a private dick after this. I thought I'd seen all the dark underworld had to offer, but now I know there are things far darker than I ever imagined. And most of them can walk in the sunshine, just like you and me. No, I don't suppose I'll be a detective anymore.
But that doesn't mean your work is over, Frankie. Not by a long shot. Just because we took down Sheridan doesn't mean this whole network fell apart. There's never just one snake. There's always a whole brood to contend with.
And we are the mongooses who have to face them, I guess.
That's right, Mr. Cooper. Now you were supposed to be packing your things. I think you'd better get on with it before the dawn comes. We have a lot to do.
And miles to go before we sleep?
And miles to go before we sleep.
So it would seem that Mr. Cooper and Raina have struck up quite the partnership, gone into business together, you might say. But you know, it's Mr. Sheridan I feel sorry for. After all, he was simply trying to make a living, and you can't fault a man for that. Speaking of which, I regret to inform you we had to let a couple of our employees go, but that leaves an opening for you. Though I'm afraid you won't be leaving us any time soon. You see, we have need of you. And after all, you've come so often. You'll find that we have quite the benefits package for those who perform, and very strict punishments for those who do not. Now, please don't struggle. Simply come below with us. And don't worry, you'll always be with us here at the factory.
You have been listening to The Factory. Recording 741 was an original play written, produced and edited for Club 40 Audio by Wesley Critchfield. Heard in the cast, the parts of Archibald Leach and Little Caesar were played by Josh Momini. The parts of the young girl and Mrs. Carter were played by Judy Critchfield. The part of Jack Kowalski was played by Jack Ward. The parts of Flynn, the taxi driver, and Mr. Sheridan were played by Rick Spadaro. The part of Raina Pippins was played by Kendra Akers, with Wesley Critchfield as Frank Cooper and Sean Dugan as Bill and the Toymaker. The producers of Club 40 Audio would like to extend a special thanks to Thomas Hogben for his assistance in this production. All music heard in this production is available from YouTube's audio resource and does not require accreditation. Please remember to give us a like on Facebook, check out our Tumblr feeds, and listen to us on SoundCloud. Please consider supporting Club 40 Audio by buying our episodes at club40audio.bandcamp.com. That's club number 40 audio.bandcamp.com. And please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. The Factory is a production of Club 40 Audio. All rights reserved.